What's your favorite subject in school and why?
Hey Abby, what's your favorite subject in school?
My favorite subject is math. I love solving problems and using numbers to figure things out.
Oh, that's interesting. Math is definitely not my favorite subject. I prefer English because I love reading and analyzing literature.
I see. I think English is important too, but it's not my strength. I struggle with writing essays and analyzing texts.
Yeah, I understand. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. That's what makes us unique.
Do you think our education system needs a major overhaul?
Hey Abby, have you ever thought about the education system we have in our country?
Honestly, not really. Why do you ask?
I feel like our education system needs a major overhaul. We're still using traditional methods that don't always work for everyone.
Oh, I see what you mean. But what kind of changes do you have in mind?
Well, for starters, I think we need to focus more on practical skills and prepare students for the real world. And maybe introduce more technology in the classroom.
That's a good point. I also think we need to have more emphasis on mental health and well-being in school.
Yes. And maybe reduce the pressure on students to constantly perform and get good grades.
I completely agree. Our education system needs to evolve with the times and cater to the needs of every student.
Do you prefer traditional classroom learning or online learning? Hey Abby, have you decided how you want to take your classes this semester?
Not really, I'm still debating whether to go for traditional classroom learning or online learning. What about you?
I prefer traditional classroom learning. I like the face-to-face interaction with my professor and classmates. It helps me stay focused.
Yeah, I get what you mean. But for me, online learning is more flexible. I can work at my own pace and don't have to worry about being late to class.
That's true, but I find it harder to stay motivated when I'm not in an actual classroom.
I see your point. I guess it all comes down to personal preferences and what works best for each individual.
How important do you think it is to learn a second language?
Hey Abby, do you think it's important to learn a second language?
Definitely. It opens up a whole new world of opportunities.
I don't really see the point. English is spoken almost everywhere.
That's true, but not everyone speaks English fluently. Plus, if you travel to a foreign country, knowing the language can make your trip much easier and enjoyable.
I guess that's a good point. What language do you think is worth learning?
It depends on your interests and goals. Spanish is widely spoken and useful for travel, while Mandarin Chinese is great for business. It's up to you.
I'll have to think about it. Thanks for the advice, Abby.
Would you rather learn from a book or hands-on experience?
Hey Abby, do you prefer learning from a book or hands-on experience?
Definitely hands-on experience. I feel like I retain the information better when I can actually do it myself.
I'm the opposite. I prefer reading and taking notes. It helps me visualize the process and understand it better.
That makes sense. But for me, I feel like I need to be physically doing something to really understand it.
Yeah, I get that. We all have different learning styles. Have you ever had a really inspiring teacher? What made them so great?
Hey Abby, have you ever had a teacher who inspired you?
Yeah, my history teacher in high school was amazing. She always made the past come alive with her stories.
That's great. I had a math teacher who taught me more than just formulas. He taught me the value of hard work and perseverance.
That's awesome. What made him so inspiring?
He never gave up on me even when I struggled. He encouraged me to keep trying and believed in me even when I didn't believe in myself.
I think that's the mark of a great teacher. They push you to be your best self and never give up on you.
Absolutely. I'm grateful for all the teachers who have inspired me over the years.
Do you think standardized tests accurately measure intelligence?
Hey Abby, did you hear about the new standardized tests we have to take next week?
Yeah, I did. I'm not too excited about it.
Me neither. I don't think these tests accurately measure intelligence.
I totally agree. I mean, some people are good test takers, but that doesn't mean they're smart. And others might struggle with test taking, but they're actually really intelligent.
Exactly. Plus, some people might have test anxiety or other personal issues that affect their performance on the test.
Yeah, it's just not a fair way to measure someone's intelligence. I wish there was a better way.
Me too, but for now, I guess we just have to do our best on these tests.
Yeah, I guess so. How do you motivate yourself to study?
Hey Abby, do you ever struggle with motivating yourself to study?
Yeah, sometimes. It can be hard to get in the right mindset.
I totally get that. What do you usually do to help yourself?
Well, I try to break my study sessions into smaller, more manageable chunks. And I also give myself little rewards along the way.
That's a good idea. I think I might try that too.
Another thing that helps me is having a designated study space. When I go there, I know it's time to focus.
Right, I usually just study wherever I happen to be. I could definitely benefit from a dedicated space.
Yeah, it can make a big difference. And remember, it's okay to take breaks and give yourself a breather if you need it.
Thanks for the tips, Abby. I'm feeling more motivated already.
What are some effective study techniques?
Hey, Abby. Do you have any effective study techniques?
Yeah, sure. What do you need help with?
I have an exam coming up and I'm having trouble concentrating.
First things first, make a schedule and stick to it. Break your study sessions into chunks, like 45 minutes or an hour, with short breaks in between. And make sure to take breaks to avoid burnout.
That makes sense. What else?
Try to find a quiet place to study, free from distractions. And use study aids like flashcards or study guides. They can be very helpful in retaining information. Also, try to teach the material to someone else. It helps solidify the information in your own mind.
Thanks, Abby. I'll give those a try.
No problem. Good luck on your exam.
Would you rather study alone or in a group?
Hey Abby, do you prefer studying alone or in a group?
Honestly, I love studying alone. It helps me concentrate better and I can go at my own pace without any distractions. What about you?
I used to like studying alone, but recently I've been leaning towards group study sessions. I find that discussing topics with others helps me understand things better and it's more fun than studying alone.
I get that, but sometimes group study sessions can be too distracting. It's hard to stay focused when everyone is talking.
Yeah, that's true. But if you find the right people to study with, it can actually be very productive.
Do you think college is worth the cost?
Hey, Abby, have you ever thought about whether college is worth the cost?
Yeah, I have. I mean, tuition fees are so high these days, and there's no guarantee you'll get a job after graduation.
I know what you mean, but I still think it's worth it. College provides an opportunity to learn and grow, meet people, and gain valuable experience.
That's true, but what about the debt you'll be in for years after graduation? It's a huge burden to carry.
I get that, but I think the investment is worth it in the long run. A college degree opens up so many doors and can lead to a higher salary.
I see your point. I guess it depends on your career goals and financial situation.
What do you think is the biggest flaw in our education system?
Hey Abby, have you ever thought about what the biggest flaw in our education system is?
Yeah, I think it's the way that we're taught to memorize information instead of actually learning and understanding it.
I completely agree. We need to focus more on critical thinking and problem-solving skills instead of just regurgitating facts for a test.
Definitely. And I also think that the one-size-fits-all approach doesn't work for everyone. We all have different learning styles and needs, and the education system should cater to that.
Absolutely. It's time for a change in our education system.
Do you think schools should focus more on vocational training?
Hey, Abby. What do you think about schools focusing more on vocational training?
That's an interesting topic. I guess it depends on the students' interests and career goals.
Yeah, but don't you think schools should provide more options and exposure to different vocational fields?
I agree. I think schools should offer a variety of vocational courses, so students can explore different career paths and find out what they're good at.
Exactly. Plus, vocational training can provide practical skills that can be immediately applied in the workforce. I think it's important for schools to prepare students for both college and career paths.
Yes, I think it's all about balance. Schools should offer a mix of academic and vocational training, so students can have a well-rounded education.
What do you think about the concept of online degrees? Hey Abby, have you heard about online degrees?
Yeah, I have. It sounds pretty interesting to me. What about you?
I'm not so sure about it. I mean, how can you learn everything you need to know without being physically present in a classroom?
Well, online degrees provide access to the same resources as traditional degrees, and you can communicate with your professors and classmates through online platforms.
I see your point, but what about the credibility of the degree? Do employers really value online degrees as much as traditional ones?
Nowadays, many reputable universities are offering online degree programs, so I think it's becoming more widely accepted. And considering the current situation with the pandemic, it's a safe and convenient option for many people.
That's true. It's definitely something to consider.
Do you think everyone should go to college?
So, Abby, do you think everyone should go to college?
That's a tricky question. I believe that college isn't for everyone, but it can definitely benefit some people.
I agree. Some people might not have the finances to attend college, or they might have a passion that doesn't require a degree.
Exactly. However, for those who do go to college, it can open up more job opportunities and lead to higher salaries in the long run.
That's true. But I also think that there are other paths to success besides college. For example, pursuing a trade or starting a business can be just as fulfilling.
Yes, definitely. At the end of the day, it's important for each person to make their own decision based on their interests and goals.
Do you enjoy learning outside of school? If so, what topics interest you?
Hey Abby, do you enjoy learning outside of school?
Definitely. I love learning new things in my free time.
What topics interest you the most?
I'm really into astronomy and space exploration. It's fascinating to learn about the universe and all of its mysteries.
That's cool. I'm more into history and politics. I like to read about different cultures and how they've evolved over time.
That's interesting too. I've always found ancient civilizations to be really intriguing.
Yeah, me too. I also enjoy learning about current events and how they impact the world we live in today.
Same here. It's important to stay informed and be aware of what's going on around us.
Have you ever had a teacher that you didn't like? Why not?
Hey, Abby. Have you ever had a teacher that you didn't like?
Yeah, I had a math teacher in high school that I didn't get along with.
Why was that?
She was always so strict and never explained anything properly. It was really hard to understand the material.
I know what you mean. I had an English teacher who was the same way. He never gave clear instructions and was always picking on me.
That's the worst. It's hard enough to learn new subjects without having a teacher who makes it even more difficult.
Exactly. It's important for teachers to be patient and understanding with their students.
Agreed. A good teacher can make all the difference in how much you enjoy a subject and how well you do in it.
Do you think parents should have more say in their child's education?
Hey, Abby. What do you think about parents having more say in their child's education?
I think it depends. Some parents could be too controlling and affect their child's learning negatively. But at the same time, parents know their child best and can provide valuable input for their education.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I think parents should be involved in decisions about their child's education, but not to the point where they're dictating everything.
Exactly. It's important to find a balance between giving parents a say and allowing teachers and educators to make informed decisions.
What do you think about online tutoring?
Hey Abby, what do you think about online tutoring?
Actually, I used it once and it was pretty helpful. Saves time and traveling expenses.
Oh really? I always thought it would be less effective than face-to-face tutoring.
Not necessarily. The tutor I had was able to use a virtual whiteboard and we could share screens. It was almost like having them there in person.
I see. That sounds pretty convenient. Do you think it's more affordable too?
It definitely can be. Some online tutoring services offer discounts and package deals. Plus, you don't have to pay for transport or the tutor's travel time.
I might have to give it a try then. Thanks for the info.
Do you think it's important for teachers to have a good sense of humor?
Hey Abby, do you think it's important for teachers to have a good sense of humor?
Definitely. It can make the class more enjoyable and engaging.
I agree. I remember my favorite teacher in high school was always cracking jokes and making everyone laugh.
Same here. It's also a great way to diffuse any tension or stress in the classroom.
Plus, it helps students feel more comfortable with their teacher and encourages them to participate more in class.
Absolutely. A good sense of humor can go a long way in creating a positive learning environment.
Have you ever learned something that completely changed your perspective on life?
Hey Abby, have you ever learned something that completely changed your perspective on life?
Yeah, actually. When I traveled to a third world country and saw how happy people were with so little, it made me appreciate what I have in my life.
That's interesting. For me, it was when I learned about mindfulness and living in the present moment. It made me realize how much time I spent worrying about the past or future instead of enjoying the present.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a game changer. I think it's important to constantly learn and have our perspectives challenged.
Absolutely. It keeps life interesting and helps us grow as individuals.
What do you think about homework? Is it necessary?
Hey Abby, what do you think about homework? I find it really tiring.
I agree with you, Alfie. Homework can be a burden sometimes.
Do you think it's necessary though? I mean, I don't see the point sometimes.
I think it depends on the subject. Some subjects require practice to fully grasp the concepts.
Yeah, I see your point. But sometimes I feel like homework is just busy work.
I get where you're coming from. In those cases, I try to think of it as an opportunity to review what we learned in class. Do you think it's important to learn about different cultures?
Hey Abby, have you ever tried sushi before?
No, I haven't. Why do you ask?
Just had it for lunch and it got me thinking about how important it is to learn about different cultures.
I guess. But why is it really that important?
Well, think about it. The world is becoming more diverse and interconnected every day. By understanding different cultures, we can build better relationships and avoid misunderstandings.
I see your point. But it's not always easy to learn about other cultures, especially if you live in a small town like ours.
True, but we can start by reading books, watching documentaries, or even just talking to people from different backgrounds. It's all about being open-minded and curious.
What's the most difficult subject you've ever studied? Why was it difficult?
Hey Abby, what's the most difficult subject you've ever studied?
I'd say calculus. It was so challenging for me.
Yeah, I remember struggling with that one too. What made it so difficult for you?
The concepts were so abstract and I just couldn't wrap my head around them. Plus, the formulas were so complex.
I agree, it takes a lot of practice to get the hang of it. For me, it was organic chemistry. The sheer amount of memorization was overwhelming.
Oh, I can imagine. I haven't even taken that one yet, but I've heard horror stories.
Yeah, it's definitely not for the faint of heart.
Do you think there's too much emphasis on grades in our education system?
Hey Abby, what do you think about the emphasis on grades in our education system?
I think it's a bit too much. I mean, there are so many other factors that should be considered in a student's development.
Exactly. I feel like sometimes we focus too much on getting the grades instead of actually learning the material.
Yeah. And it puts a lot of pressure on students to perform well, which can lead to stress and anxiety.
I totally agree. I think we should focus more on understanding the concepts and applying them in real-life situations rather than just getting a good grade on a test.
Absolutely. Learning should be about personal growth, not just acing exams.
How do you feel about group projects?
Hey Abby, how do you feel about group projects?
I hate them. I always end up doing most of the work.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's frustrating when you're the only one putting in effort.
Exactly. And sometimes it's hard to coordinate everyone's schedules to meet up and work together.
True, but I think group projects can also be beneficial. You can learn a lot from working with others and gain different perspectives.
I guess that's true, but it's still not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I understand. But we're in college, so we're going to have to deal with them for a while.
Do you think technology has improved the way we learn?
Hey Abby, do you think technology has improved the way we learn?
Absolutely. With the internet, we can access unlimited information on any topic we're interested in. Plus, there are countless educational apps and online courses that make learning more interactive and engaging.
Yeah, definitely. And with video conferencing technologies, we can attend virtual classrooms and interact with teachers and classmates from all over the world.
Not to mention how technology has made learning more accessible to people with disabilities or those who live in remote areas.
True, technology has definitely made learning more convenient and efficient. But I also think it's important to balance it out with traditional methods of learning like reading books and taking handwritten notes.
What do you think about the use of technology in the classroom?
Hey Abby, have you noticed how much technology has been incorporated into our classes lately?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we used to have just chalkboards and textbooks, but now we have smart boards and laptops.
I think it's great though. It makes learning more interactive and engaging. Plus, it prepares us for the real world where technology is constantly changing.
I agree, but sometimes I worry about the over-reliance on technology. What if there's a power outage or technical difficulties during an important lesson?
That's a valid concern, but I think it's important to strike a balance between technology and traditional methods. As long as we don't become completely dependent on technology, I think it can be a valuable tool in the classroom.
Do you think teachers should be paid more?
Hey, Abby. What do you think about teachers' salaries?
I think they should be paid more. They work so hard and do so much for our children.
I agree. They deserve to be compensated better for their efforts. Without teachers, we wouldn't have doctors, engineers, or even presidents for that matter.
Exactly. But unfortunately, their pay isn't commensurate with the amount of work they put in.
Yeah, it's a shame. I hope something changes soon.
Me too, man. Me too.
Are you more of a visual, auditory, or kinesthetic learner?
Hey Abby, do you know what type of learner you are?
Not really. What do you mean?
I mean, do you find it easier to learn through visuals, like pictures and diagrams, or through auditory methods like hearing explanations or lectures? Or are you more of a kinesthetic learner, where you learn best through hands-on activities?
Oh, I think I'm more of an auditory learner.
I usually remember things better when I hear them explained out loud.
Interesting. I'm the opposite, I'm definitely a visual learner. I need to see things written down or drawn out to really understand them.
That's cool. I guess everyone learns differently, huh?
Yeah, definitely. It's good to know your learning style so you can study in a way that works best for you.
How do you feel about the use of textbooks versus digital resources?
Hey, have you heard about the school switching to digital resources instead of textbooks?
Yeah, I have. Personally, I prefer textbooks. It's just easier for me to read and take notes.
That's interesting. I actually like using digital resources more. I find it more convenient to access information and it's better for the environment.
I can see that, but I also worry about the potential for distractions on digital devices.
Yeah, that's true. But if you have self-control, it's not really a problem.
I guess it just comes down to personal preference and study habits.
Do you think extracurricular activities are important for students?
Hey Abby, did you check out the extracurricular activities our school offers?
Not really, why do you ask?
I think we should try to join some clubs or teams. It's a great way to meet new people and learn new skills.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But I'm not sure if I have the time for it.
I get you, but extracurriculars can also help us stand out when we apply to colleges or jobs. They show that we're well-rounded and committed to something outside of academics.
You make a valid point. I'll check out what's available and see if there's anything that interests me.
Great! I'm thinking of trying out for the basketball team. You should join too.
Have you ever had to learn a subject that you had no interest in? How did you get through it?
Hey Abby, have you ever had to learn a subject that you had no interest in?
Yeah man, I've had to learn a bunch of things that didn't interest me. How about you?
Yeah, I had to learn statistics for my degree and I didn't enjoy it at all.
I feel you. What did you do to get through it?
I watched a bunch of videos online and tried to make it as fun as possible for myself. It was still a slog, but it helped me get through it.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I usually try to find something interesting in the subject, even if it's just a small aspect of it.
That's a good point. I'll try that next time.
Do you think it's important to be well-rounded in different subjects, or specialize in a specific area?
Hey Abby, do you think it's important to be well-rounded in different subjects or specialize in a specific area?
That's a tough one. Personally, I think it depends on your end goal. If you know what you want to do in life, it might be better to specialize in that area. But if you're not sure yet, being well-rounded can open up more opportunities.
That makes sense. I've always been interested in different subjects, but sometimes I worry that I'm not focusing enough on one thing.
I get that, but being knowledgeable in different areas can actually be an advantage. You never know when you might need a certain skill or knowledge in a different field.
Yeah, I see your point. I guess it's all about finding a balance.
Have you ever had to give a presentation in front of a group? How did you feel about it?
Hey Abby, have you ever had to give a presentation in front of a group?
Yeah, I did once for my final year project. I was quite nervous about it.
I know the feeling. I had to give a presentation last week, and I was terrified.
How did it go?
Surprisingly well, actually. I prepared a lot and practiced in front of a mirror. It really helped to boost my confidence.
That's great. I usually try to do some breathing exercises before a presentation, but the mirror idea sounds good.
Yeah, it's all about finding what works for you. But I have to admit, I'm glad it's over. I don't think I could handle that level of stress too often.
I totally understand. It can be a real challenge to speak in public, but it's also a valuable skill to have.
Do you think our education system should be more focused on practical skills?
Hey, have you ever thought that our education system should be more focused on practical skills?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we learn a lot of theoretical stuff in school, But when it comes to applying that knowledge in real life, we struggle a lot.
Exactly. I feel like we need more hands-on experience in school. Like learning how to fix cars, cook meals, or even change a tire.
That would be so helpful, especially for those of us who don't have those skills but need them in everyday life.
And it's not just about practical skills. I also think we need more emphasis on critical thinking, problem solving, and collaboration.
Yes, those are important skills that we need in all areas of life. We shouldn't just be memorizing facts, we should be learning how to apply them in different situations.
How do you feel about taking online courses to supplement your education?
Hey Abby, have you ever thought about taking online courses to supplement your education?
Yeah, I actually have. I'm already taking one in coding, and it's been really helpful so far.
That's great to hear. I'm thinking of taking one in graphic design to improve my skills.
You definitely should. Online courses are so convenient because you can do them at your own pace and from anywhere.
Exactly. It's also a great way to learn new skills and stay relevant in the job market.
Definitely. Plus, there are so many affordable options out there, too.
Do you think dress codes in school are necessary?
Hey Abby, what do you think about dress codes in school?
I don't really see the need for them. Why should what we wear affect our education?
I get what you mean, but I think dress codes help maintain a level of professionalism in school. It also prevents students from wearing offensive clothing.
I see your point, but sometimes dress codes can be too strict. Students should have the freedom to express themselves through their clothing.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think dress codes should have some flexibility to accommodate different styles and cultures.
Exactly. It's all about finding a balance between maintaining a professional atmosphere and allowing individual expression.
Have you ever had to balance school with a part-time job? How did you manage your time?
Hey Abby, how's it going?
Hey, Alfie, I'm good. How about you?
I'm doing all right, just trying to balance school and work.
Yeah, that can be tough. What's your part-time job?
I work at the coffee shop down the street. It's not too bad, but it definitely takes up a lot of my time.
I hear ya. When I was in school, I worked at a restaurant on weekends. It was hard to juggle everything, but I found that making a schedule helped a lot.
That's a good idea. I'll have to give that a try.
Yeah, just make sure to schedule in some time for yourself too. You don't want to burn out.
Thanks for the advice, Abby. I'll keep that in mind.
Do you think it's important for teachers to incorporate real-world examples into their lessons?
Hey Abby, do you think it's important for teachers to incorporate real-world examples into their lessons?
Absolutely. When teachers give real-world examples, it helps us to understand how the subject applies to our daily lives. It makes the learning experience more engaging and relatable.
Yeah, I agree. I remember when my math teacher used a real-world example to teach us about fractions, and it made so much more sense to me.
Right. And not only that, but it also prepares us for the real world. We can apply what we learned in school to situations we encounter in our lives outside of the classroom.
Definitely. I think it's important for teachers to think about how they can connect the material to the real world and make it more meaningful for students.
What do you think about the use of standardized textbooks in schools?
Hey, have you ever thought about the use of standardized textbooks in schools?
Yeah, I have. Honestly, I think they're kind of limiting.
I agree. I mean, all students are different and they learn at different paces, so why should they have to use the same textbook as everyone else?
Exactly. And sometimes the information in these textbooks is outdated or one-sided.
Yeah, and it doesn't really encourage critical thinking or creativity. It's just regurgitating information.
Right. And it's not like every student has the same interests or passions. It's hard to engage them with a textbook that's not tailored to their unique learning styles.
Do you think it's important to have a diverse range of teachers?
Hey Abby, do you think it's important to have a diverse range of teachers?
Absolutely. It's not just about having teachers from different ethnicities, but also different genders and age groups. It provides a much broader perspective and helps us learn about different cultures and experiences.
Yeah, I agree. I've had teachers from different backgrounds and it's always interesting to hear their stories and learn about their traditions.
Plus, it also helps to break down stereotypes and prejudices that we may have grown up with. It's important to have teachers who can challenge our assumptions and broaden our horizons.
Definitely. I think having a diverse range of teachers can make us more well-rounded people and better equipped to handle the real world.
Have you ever had to give a speech in front of a large audience? How did you prepare for it?
Hey Abby, have you ever had to give a speech in front of a large audience?
Yeah, I had to give a speech during my college graduation ceremony. I was so nervous.
Oh man, I can imagine. How did you prepare for it?
I did a lot of practicing in front of a mirror and in front of friends. I also wrote out my speech and practiced reading it out loud.
That's a good idea. Did it help calm your nerves?
A little bit. But honestly, I was still pretty nervous when I got up there. It just takes some time to get used to speaking in front of a large audience.
How do you feel about the amount of homework given in school?
Hey Abby, how are you?
I'm good, Alfie. How about you?
I'm doing all right. I was just wondering how you feel about the amount of homework we get in school.
Oh man, don't even get me started. I feel like we're drowning in assignments.
Yeah, same here. It's like we never get a break.
And it's not just the quantity of homework, it's also the difficulty level. Some of these assignments are way too hard for me.
Tell me about it. I wish our teachers would be more considerate.
Agreed. It's like they forget we have a life outside of school.
Exactly. I just hope things get better soon.
Me too, Alfie. Me too.
Do you think it's important to teach financial literacy in schools?
Hey Abby, do you think it's important to teach financial literacy in schools?
Absolutely. I wish I had learned more about it when I was in high school.
Me too. I feel like I was never really taught how to manage my money and now I'm struggling.
It's a shame because financial literacy is so important in today's world. I think it's something that should be taught starting in elementary school.
I completely agree. I think it would be beneficial for students to learn about budgeting, saving, and investing at a young age.
And it's not just important for personal finance, but also for the economy as a whole. Financially responsible individuals make for a stronger economy.
That's a great point. Hopefully more schools will start to prioritize financial literacy education.
What do you think about the use of video games as a learning tool?
Hey Abby, have you heard about using video games as a learning tool?
Yeah, I have. I think it's a great idea. It makes learning fun and engaging.
I agree. I think it's an effective way to teach complex concepts. Did you know that some schools are using video games to teach subjects like history and science?
Really? That's interesting. I always thought video games were just for entertainment.
Not anymore. Video games have evolved to become more than just a form of entertainment. They can be used as a tool for education and training.
That's true. I remember playing a game that taught me how to type when I was in school.
Exactly. Video games can be used to teach a variety of skills, from problem solving to critical thinking.
Have you ever had to learn a subject in a language that wasn't your native language?
Hey Abby, have you ever had to learn a subject in a language that wasn't your native language?
Yeah, I have. I had to take a computer science course in French once, and it was pretty challenging.
I can imagine. Did you find any helpful strategies for learning the material?
Yeah, I found it helpful to read the textbook in both French and English to make sure I understood the concepts. I also tried to listen to lectures in French to get used to the professor's accent.
That's smart. I had to take a history course in Spanish last semester, and I struggled a lot. I wish I had thought to do something like that.
Yeah, it can be tough, but I think it's worth the effort. It's a good way to improve your language skills and learn something new at the same time.
Do you think our education system prepares students adequately for the workforce?
Hey Abby, do you think our education system prepares students adequately for the workforce?
That's a tough one. I think it depends on the field you want to go into. For example, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, then yes, our education system prepares you pretty well. But for other jobs like graphic designing or social media management, you might need to do some additional self-learning.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I feel like there should be more emphasis on teaching practical skills instead of just cramming theory.
Totally agree. I think internships and apprenticeships should be a bigger part of the curriculum.
That's a good idea. I think it would help bridge the gap between classroom learning and real-life work experience.